League's new champion might redefine what it means for something to be broken. She's not even been released yet, but has already become a meme and received her first nerf. Let's just get into it.
Before we hop into today's episode, I want to thank our sponsor, Opera GX, and their brand new feature, Riot Corner. Opera GX is an official sponsor of Worlds 2024, and they're kicking off Worlds with some sweet new in-browser features. In Riot Corner, you'll get access to a schedule of all the matches, a co-streaming hub to jump in and watch, and limited time drops exclusive to GX users at lolesports.com. I can't stress this enough, guys. This is a one-stop shop for absolutely everything you need to keep up with Worlds, baked right into an already awesome gaming browser. So go download Opera GX right now via the link in the description below. Using that link, your browser will download with the official mods, and you'll have access to Riot Corner as soon as you hop in the browser. Thanks to Opera GX for sponsoring our exclusive World show, The Last Hit, and supercharging our coverage this year. Now, let's get back into today's video.
Okay, so Ambessa is set to become League's 169th champion with her release on November 6th as part of patch 14.22. Fans of Arcane on Netflix will already recognize her from the show as the Noxian warlord eager to get her hands on Jace's Hextech and weaponize it against her enemies. She's geared towards the top lane and is also going to be an energy-based champion, which is incredibly rare these days. She'll be just the 6th ever energy champion released, and the first since Zed's release way back in 2012, if you don't count the Akali rework. Now that might be an attempt to balance how much she can spam her abilities on cooldown, because as we will see, that would be even more broken than what people are already complaining about. Her ability tooltips read like a small novel, and people are already using her to demonstrate the contrast of complexity between old and new champions. But memes aside, let's take a look at her abilities before we make any more judgments. We'll make those after. Her passive is Drakehound's Step. When she casts an ability, a following move or attack command will cause her to dash after the ability finishes. Casting an ability will give her attack a charge, which increases her attack range and speed, and attacks consume a charge to deal additional damage and restore energy. Her Q has two components. Cunning Sweep sweeps her blades forward in a semicircle, dealing extra damage at the edge and hitting an enemy ready Sundering Slam, which when cast causes Ambessa to slam down her blades, dealing bonus damage to the first enemy hit. Her W, Repudiation, gives Ambessa a shield and braces herself before slamming the ground. If she's hit with damage while bracing, she does more damage with her slam. Her E, Lacerate, causes Ambessa to whip her chains in a circle, damaging and slowing enemies. Using her passive dash here will also give her an additional strike. Her ultimate, Public Execution, has a passive that gives her armor penetration and heals her. Activating it makes her unstoppable as she blinks to the farthest enemy champion in a line, who she then suppresses before slamming them with damage and a stun. And Cadril got to experience just how insane all of this is in combination when he tested Ambessa on the PBE. Even he didn't understand what was really going on.
What is happening?
The main thing that everyone is freaking out about here is Ambessa's mobility, the fact that she can dash after casting any ability. Now, disclaimer, these dashes can't get over walls, but still. What the hell? Now, we've talked about mobility creep before, the idea that League champions are getting more and more mobile as the years go on. Now, to an outsider, this might not seem like a bad thing. Dashes are cool, right? They make for flashy plays or escapes. They should allow for more complex gameplay and allow players to play around the game's terrain more instead of being confined by it. But the reality is that the game still has a lot of champions who were released about a decade ago that don't have dashes, and they look increasingly obsolete when a champion like Ambessa gets released. I mean, while Ambessa has a passive that allows her to dash every couple of seconds, Blitzcrank, released in 2009, still has a W that actively slows him, the closest thing to an anti-dash without it being an actual self-stun. A popular Reddit post this week has claimed that the release of Ambessa actually marks the end of mobility creep because there is nowhere left to go after this. And although that might be a bit melodramatic, there could be some truth to it. First, we have champions that have a dash, then we have champions that can dash multiple times, and now we have a champ that can dash after every ability they cast. Where could mobility go from here? Are we one day going to have a champion who can dash instead of moving normally, simply issuing a move move command can become a dash itself. Now you might think I'm being ridiculous and that this is just a slippery slope argument, but if any of us could go back in time to when people used to complain about champions like Kha'Zix being too mobile and explain what Ambessa could do, people would think we were joking. While the conversation around Ambessa being broken will undoubtedly focus on her endless dashes, there are other facets of her kit that are already giving busted. Her passive allows the next attack after a dash to refund energy, meaning that as long as she stays on the offensive, she's able to maintain infinite energy. And yeah, that's clearly an intentional part of her design. She's meant to be played aggressively and be rewarded for that. But should the reward for playing as intended be infinite energy? Hopefully that won't be as easy to achieve as we've seen in some of these initial gameplay clips, because if not, God help us all. Vandril has also shown that because her ult provides passive spell vamp and scales with 50% lifesteal, with enough AD in her build, she can heal a disgusting amount of damage. Just imagine having to deal with this leaping onto your backline. Perhaps the only saving grace is that at least her ult is a skill shot, so players can whiff it, but if she lands it, it's unstoppable, so there's no countering that, and you've suddenly got a mobile, high damage tank stunning your AD carry and dashing around every second while they out-heal a Vlad. Oh, and her ultimate has no energy cost, because, well, I'm not too sure, actually. Back in my day, ultimates were usually the most expensive ability to cast, with them being that much more powerful than your other abilities, but with Ambessa, that's just not the case. Now, some are already saying we're about to witness K'Sante 2.0. It's been almost 2 years since K'Sante's release, and many players, quite rightly, still haven't got over him. The issue with K'Sante was, and to some extent still is, that he can do everything. He was the first truly mobile tank that also had CC, shield, burst damage, and an ult that, on release, felt like a sick joke. No! 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 The comparisons are obvious here, and people are eager to see how these two champions stack up against each other.
I want to see it. Nope. Okay. 200 years against 200 years. And we have outscale. Let's go. I win.
K'Sante's patch history is just an endless scroll through reworks, nerfs, and more reworks to try and bring him in line with literally every other champion in the game. So are we about to see the same thing here? Have Riot learned from their mistake, or are we going to have another 2 years of memes, patch notes, and utter dominance in pro play? Just yesterday, she received her first nerf on the PBE. Now, make of that what you will. That could be Riot trying to balance her as much as possible early on, or a sign of just how inherently broken she is. And you know that whatever we see the average player cooking up with Ambessa, the pros are going to take it to a whole new level, just like they did with K'Sante. If Ambessa has an average looking win rate in solo queue on release, and I don't think she will because she looks easier to master than K'Sante, but even if she does, don't be fooled, because just like with K'Sante, we know what happens when you hand over this much mobility to a pro player. They can squeeze more juice out of a champion like this than we ever knew they had in them. I'd be really interested to hear more from Riot's design team on all of this, because say what you want about Ambessa, she has a clear design philosophy here. None of this is accidental. She's supposed to be played aggressively. She's supposed to ult through an enemy team. She's supposed to be the most mobile champion ever, and I think she's supposed to heal that much. None of this is like a hidden interaction or her being played in an OP way that Riot didn't foresee. Ambessa is an intentional, conscious design. And while you may forgive them for K'Sante because there really was nothing like him before, is this a case of fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice? Well, I guess shame on Riot again. So tell me, are we about to get K'Sante'd all over again? 2 years of patch notes, memes, and top lane dominance. With less than 2 weeks until Ambessa's release, it might not be long until we're able to have a go at answering that question.
Thanks for watching. If you want more content like this, hit the sub button and ring the notification bell. For unique bite-sized videos you won't find anywhere else, hit us up on our X, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.